I want to start by saying this is going to be very different from the usual slump content that I post. Today, I made my 11-year-old nephew play Dark Souls. For some context, my nephew isn't really a gamer. The most gaming experience he has is mainly just playing Roblox on his phone. When I was 11 years old, I was playing games all the time. Games like Borderlands, Call of Duty. My first impression of Dark Souls was probably the same as everyone else's. This is too hard. At the time, I couldn't even make it past Asylum Demon. So I gave up, only to remember I had the game and decided no harm in trying again. A few months later, of course. So I walked over to the 360, inserted the disc, got to the main menu, new game, and heard that beautiful music for the very first time. Every time I listen to this soundtrack, I remember that moment when I fell in absolute love with this game. I remember beating Asylum Demon and finally making it to Lordran for the first time. But I want to get back to my nephew and his first experience playing Dark Souls. For starters, he obviously didn't finish the whole game, and I needed to help him understand some of the basics of the game. Of course, I would let him attempt it himself until he'd get frustrated before giving him a little push in the right direction.
How do I run? Tell me. Bro, what the?
Dark Souls is notoriously known for never holding the hand of the player. And, well, the kid's 11, so I wasn't going to make him suffer. We started by making his character, and as where I would usually start with Bandit to build strength, as well as a master key to unlock specific doors, he obviously didn't know this. Instead, he did exactly what I did as a kid, and just chose whatever had the most numbers. But this only reinforces the idea that Dark Souls does not hold your hand. Even in the character creation, we're given all of these options without really knowing how or when these items will be useful.
Tiny spirit called humidity, sometimes found on carcasses. I think I'm gonna name me Jamal the Third.
Anyway, after stumbling through the character creation and watching the opening cutscene, he finally awakes at the Undead Asylum.
That's not Jamal the Third. That's not Jamal the Third. Is that like a checkpoint? What? What did I even do? How do I even run? Is there even running? Oh wait, I think I'm about to kill it. What?
He had a bit of trouble trying to figure out what to do here, and after multiple attempts, he finally saw the door that you're supposed to run through.
There he is. Or do I have to go over there? Oh, okay. I think that's how you do it.
Another thing I noticed was that he never read any of the tutorial signs, but instead just ran past them. I never told him to read them and decided it would just be best to let him figure it out. Anyway, he continued through the asylum picking up his weapon. He also had a bit of trouble trying to figure out the menu. I let him try to figure it out before giving him a push in the right direction, but still letting him figure it out on his own.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I'm learning.
Including getting hit by the massive boulder.
Oh my god! That scared me!
He got his Estus flask and the key to leave the asylum, and after equipping his weapon, started to feel a bit more confident in fights, and pulled off one of the craziest clutches I've ever seen by an 11-year-old.
Oh, no!
Oh, you're still alive.
Oh.
You're still alive. You're still alive.
I beat it!
There you go.
I had 1 HP.
He actually did it. I've had my older sister, who isn't really a gamer, play Dark Souls before, and she herself couldn't beat the Asylum Demon. This moment was really sweet, and seeing just how happy and excited he got reminded me of myself playing this game as a kid. I've beat Dark Souls so many times that this boss is just an inconvenience to me. When I kill him, I don't really think about it. But for new players, this is a memorable achievement, and in a way, does a really good job of filtering out the players who don't like hard games and that don't really hold your hand. Beating Asylum Demon means that you're knowledgeable enough of the controls to continue playing the game. Now with the Asylum Demon slain and victory achieved, we finally make it to Firelink Shrine. He spent the first couple of minutes casually exploring the place and picking up random items along the way. This is where the game really lets you loose.
Skeletor. I think I might have been. What the? What? Why is they jumping at me like crickets?
While there is a certain path the game wants you to take, it never directly tells you. The only information or direction you get is from the Crestfallen, who sits by the shrine. But even then, he never tells you exactly how to ring the bells. Anyway, after getting stuck for a moment,
Why can I not? I'm stuck!
and teaching him how to level up, we begin our walk towards the undead burg. He kills a few enemies and reaches a very memorable moment for most new players.
I was not finna fight a dragon, bro.
After that surprise, he reaches the next bonfire, and this is where he started to have some trouble. He didn't know that you had to rest in order to set your respawn point, as well as refill your flask. And since he would go until he died, he also found out later that resting would reset the enemy. He found this mechanic to be a bit annoying, since that meant having to kill all the enemies again.
It's still alive? I'm cooked. I'm so cooked.
On top of that, he found the amount of enemies just overwhelming.
Ooh. This is taking so long.
He had this idea that he had to kill every single enemy, when in reality, he could have just run past them. So I gave him a bit of help here. I taught him how to kindle the bonfire and how to use humanities. I figured if he had more healing, he would be able to push just a little further, and he did, finally making it to Taurus Demon, which went as well as you'd expect.
What? Yo! Oh my, no!
At this point, we reached about 2.5 hours, and he started to get frustrated. Something about having to run through swarms of enemies every single time he died, only to be rewarded with a boss, didn't sound too fun. And that's where he decided to conclude his adventure.
Oh, this is so annoying. I think it's time to take a break.
So, what are your thoughts on Dark Souls?
I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
I want to quickly talk about how interesting it was to see the perspective of not only a kid, but a kid who doesn't really play video games. When I was younger, I was already playing a variety of different shooters with a mix of a few RPGs, but nothing even close to Dark Souls. Every boss took me multiple attempts, but I was too stubborn to just give up. Dark Souls holds a very special place in my heart, and it's one of my favorite series out there. These games taught me so many lessons, and would later shift my taste in video games forever. I totally understand that hard games with little to no instructions isn't everyone's cup of tea or cup of Estus. But for me, I found myself trying to find games with harder and harder learning curves. The reward of learning the mechanics of a game and being rewarded with knowledge on how to apply them is always so satisfying. Games like Project Zomboid, Kenshi, RimWorld, and Dwarf Fortress are some examples of games with a difficult learning curve outside of the Souls-like genre. It's this series I have to thank, because without it, it would have never taught me how to be okay with losing and learn from it. To me, Dark Souls is more than just a game, and I would without a doubt recommend everyone who has somehow never played any of the Dark Souls to highly give it a try. I hope that everyone who made it this far enjoyed the video. Again, it's something very different than what I usually do. And again, thank you to my nephew for putting up with the pain that is Dark Souls. But that concludes our adventure. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and if there's any game that has changed your perspective, let me know in the comments. What game speaks to you the most? On that note, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah!